held. I chair the Governmental Affairs Committee for the Chamber, and this is who sponsors it, the Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau. Please check your cell phones and put them on silent or turn them off or something so we do not interrupt this morning. Want to recognize the candidates we have for mayor's position with us this morning. On my right, Drew Reinreis, and on my left, immediate left, Brian Smith and Mark Robish. We will take somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes in this discussion with these candidates, depending upon how many questions you have. We also ask the candidates to submit questions, and they have done that. And if we don't have, we'll put priority on audience questions. But if the audience doesn't have questions, we will take some of the questions that the candidates submitted. Want to recognize the Huron Plainsmen for being here this morning and covering this forum. Also note to you that you can view this forum on the Huron South Dakota YouTube channel. We will take 3 minutes for opening statements. We have drawn numbers of candidates, and that's how they'll do their opening statement. We allow them 2 minutes for answers to questions and 2 minutes for closing. Lori Shelton, the president exec of the Huron Chamber, will keep time, and we will try and keep the candidates to abide by those time constraints. So with that, we will begin with opening statements, and our first statement will be given by Brian Smith. Brian?
Thank you, Mike. I am Brian Smith. In person. I'm a lifelong resident of Huron. I was born and raised here and have lived here the majority of my life, wherein I've been employed at Dakota Land Credit Union for the last 27 years. And in that role, I've served as the Chief Lending Officer at Dakota Land in key management with Dakota Land. And in addition to that, I'm currently sitting on the City Commission as a commissioner. My wife Teresa is a retired school teacher. Teresa was middle school music teacher for a number of years. We have 3 grown children. 2 live in Sioux Falls and 1 lives in Watertown. William lives in Watertown. Our daughters Hannah and Emma live in Sioux Falls, and they are married, and we have a new grandchild, little Cora. So that's a pretty exciting event in our life. My experience with the commission, as I stated, I've been on the commission for about 10 years, just over 10 years, and I've served in the capacity of 3 of the 4 departments, if you would. I've been active on public safety as well as public works, and then currently I'm serving as your finance commissioner. Most of my term has been serving as finance commissioner, and finance commission is really tasked with keeping our financial affairs in order as the city, along with reviewing and working through contracts and those types of work. It's more of an administrative responsibility as a finance commissioner, and it's very similar to what the mayor role would entail. Although the mayor role has overall responsibility, finance commission or the finance commissioner serves as more of an administrative role. I've seen ups and downs of Huron, and at the end it's just been a wonderful place to live, to work, raise our children, and 2 dogs. So thank you for attending this morning. It's great to see this big crowd and your interest in the mayor race. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Second, we will hear from Mark Robish.
Thank you, Mr. Held. Thank you for the, to the Chamber Visitors Bureau and for hosting us, and thank you all for coming. My name is Mark Robish. Some of you know me by name, some of you know me by name and face, and sorry about that, but this is what it is. But yeah, I guess like all three of us, we were all born and raised here and whatever, and so I've been around the community for a long time. Hitchcock, Yale community, and moved to Huron several years ago. And but my wife Lori works at the hospital. She's been there 35 years. I've been at my current job for 33 years. So we're kind of stuck in the mud, I guess, but that's okay. We love it. We love it here. We're not going anywhere, and these are our roots. We have 4 grown children also. Our oldest daughter lives in Sioux Falls, and they've had exciting news in their family too. My son-in-law just got the new head coaching job at Augustana men's basketball. So anyway, that's exciting for them and for all of us. Our second daughter lives in Laramie. Her and her husband are both police officers for the University of Wyoming. Our third daughter is married and she lives in Armour. And she is a school teacher, and her husband is a superintendent at Armour School. And they have 4 children. The ones in Wyoming, there's 7 children there, and there's 4 in Armour. And then our youngest child is Damon. He lives in town, and you guys may all know him personally, I hope. Professionally, you may not want to. He's a Beetle County Deputy Sheriff, and so him and his wife live here, and they just had their first child 2 weeks ago. So there's my family history, and it's the mayor's job, the mayor's position is determined by our city limits right here, because only the people in the city limits can vote. And I get that. I have no problem with that, because we're so important to each other. But Huron is so much bigger than Huron. Huron is about the community. It's about Huron, it's about Yale, it's about Cahors, it's about Woolsey, it's about our surrounding towns. And that's the relationships that me and my family have built in our community. I think I can bridge that gap. I think I can be that personality that makes this city and this community thrive and grow. And I appreciate you very much for coming, and that's my time. The boss says you're done.
Thank you, and third, we'll hear from Drew Weinreis. Drew?
Good morning. I first want to thank the Chamber and the Governmental Affairs Committee for hosting the forum today. I'm honored to stand before you today as candidate for mayor. I am deeply invested in our community, actively involved in many local organizations, and committed to making a positive impact on the lives of each and every one of you. My name is Drew Weinreis, lifelong resident, graduate of Huron. Started my career with Dakota Land Federal Credit Union 12 years ago, and I hold the position of Vice President of Member Services. I also have the privilege to serve as your Public Safety Commissioner for the City of Huron. I am President of the Board of Directors for the Center for Independence, and have been a Chamber Ambassador for 10 years. One of my top priorities is promoting transparency and open communication. I believe that as residents, you deserve to know what is happening in your city and to have a voice in the decision-making process. We live in a very diverse community, and I want to advocate for the importance of embracing and celebrating our differences. As your future mayor, I am committed to fostering an inclusive relationship throughout the community and fostering an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued and heard. By actively promoting inclusivity through community events and showcasing our cultures and the traditions that make our community. Just a few things that I'd like to highlight if I were elected your next mayor. We would look at implementing new strategies for attracting new businesses, creating more job opportunities, and continuing to support our local entrepreneurs. I will follow through in making sure that we complete the downtown project and continue to invest in our public spaces and beautification of our community. Another thing is social media. That can help improve our city services in several ways. It allows for real-time communication so residents can easily report issues such as potholes, broken streetlights, or any issues that they may have. City officials can also use social media to provide updates on service improvements and to gather better feedback for the needs of our community. It is a powerful tool for enhancing the efficiency and responsiveness of the city. Together, I'll also like to look at putting on term limits for elected officials. Term limits allow for new leadership to bring in innovative approaches, prevent complacency, and to encourage a more diverse representation in our local government. Also, I'd like to have commissioner updates at meetings. I believe, and I will implement at our commission meetings, that each commissioner will give public updates on their departments that they oversee at least once a month. This will allow for everyone in our community to know what is going on in our city. Commissioners should also rotate departments at least every 2 years, as well as I believe that all of our public work sessions and our budget process should be videotaped for all of the viewing. Again, thank you all for being here today. I look forward to answering any of your questions that you may have. And remember to go vote on April 9th.
Thank you, all three of you, for those opening remarks. Let's take 30 seconds. If you'd like to come and have a seat, there's chairs here, there's a couple chairs over along that wall. Okay, we are ready for the first question from the audience. We ask you to come to the podium and state your name and where you live. And you can direct your question to one of the three candidates or just ask it in general. If you ask it in general, we will let the three of them decide who wants to go first. Who has the first question this morning? Well, then I guess we're going to, okay. I was going to say we're going to have a short meeting, but come on forward, sir. State your name and where you live. And
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeff Pownell. I live on the corner of 3rd and Dakota, 274 Dakota. First of all, thanks for being here, everybody. Last month, hundreds of people from Huron got together in an effort called Huron Rising. We spent a combined multiple thousands of hours sitting down and documenting what's important to our town for the next year, for the next 5 years, and what we've accomplished and what we've done well and what we still need to work on. To me, as mayor, I'd like you to represent the people. The people have already decided what's important for the town. What I'd love to hear from each of you is what you heard. I think each of you was at the meeting, but I'd like to hear what you heard at Huron Rising and what you would do to implement what you heard as the important things during that meeting.
thank you.
Yeah.
Who would like to start?
I'll go ahead and start.
Go ahead, Drew.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff, for that question. And so, yes, it was a very collaborative event. Lots of people were at this Huron Rising, and what came out of it was very great ideas. And what I got also out of that meeting was a sense of motivation and enthusiasm that came out of that group. And there was a lot of great ideas. I look forward to being that strong voice and taking those issues and those things that came forward and being a champion for them. We need to continue to work on creating a better sidewalk program. We've talked about it for way too many years, and it's time that that action takes place.
That was my error.
No, you're fine. As well as the beautification and the revitalization of downtown that is crucial to the next chapter of Huron, and I look forward to being a part of that. And we can't do it alone. I don't have all of the answers, and I'm not going to sit here and say I do, but I do have the relationships that I've built in our community, and have the right people in place so that we can work together to make Huron a great place to live.
Thank you. Who would like to be next?
Okay, thank you. Jeff, that was a great question. That was a great insight to bring that up, because I don't know if you were at the one 5 years ago?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. We had a Huron Rising 5 years ago, and then they called this one Huron 2.0. And I was at the first one years ago, and the ideas that came out of that are exactly what you're implementing downtown. And not you alone, I understand that, but you are implementing that downtown. You've bought some buildings, you've fixed them up, you've renovated them, and not just you. I mean, a lot of them downtown have done that. And through that first meeting, I don't know exactly what the name of the fund was, but there's a funding there for the front facade part of your building. And you, along with some of the other business owners, have used that to enhance our downtown. And we have a special time coming that the state is going to help us along that way of our downtown, because we're gonna redo Dakota Avenue, and this is our one-time chance to do that. It's never been done since I've been here, and I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but it's never been done since I've been here. So we have our chance to do it now, so we have to do it the right way. So by doing what you've been doing downtown, that helps us out, but it's gonna cost us a lot of money. I want everybody to remember this. It's gonna cost a lot of money, and it's gonna take time. You're gonna be cussing us out, you're gonna be yelling at us through your windshield because it's such a mess. But you know what? It can't get better until it gets worse. And so, what am I gonna do about it? I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna help all the business owners as much as I can. And so we're gonna help each other out, because it's gonna cost us a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. So 5 years ago, we implemented some of that stuff and you took advantage of that. Now this Huron Rising, now the ideas that came out of this, it's gonna take time, but yes, we're gonna get there. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff, for the question. I was part of the committee for the 2.0 as well as the first go-around on Huron Rising, and you're right, the Huron Rising, the first initial one, there were areas of identification that the public wanted to see as improvements in our community. Most of those tasks were achieved within about a 5-year period. And so, pulling into the 2.0 portion of it, I agree with you in the fact that that brought a large segment of our population together to shape or give direction, not just for the city, but the community as a whole, of where we want to see Huron go. And one of the priorities on that was housing redevelopment. I would like to implement a continuing study on that to identify the opportunities for housing, where to develop. One of the areas that I worked on within the last 2 years that I spearheaded was the acquisition of 70 acres of property along 21st Street. And that was purchased by the city in an effort to provide opportunity for future development of housing and retail business. At the time, we looked around, and there were pretty much the majority of the areas in Huron have been occupied with housing and development. So that was the momentum of acquiring that property. A couple of the other things that came to note were childcare responsibilities, daycare opportunities. That's a heavy need in the community, and as mayor, we have to work. We need the collaboration of the commission to do it, but I want to be proactive, working with the stakeholders that are motivated to accomplish that.
Thank you. We will take another question from the audience. Sure, come on in and have a seat. Who would like to ask the next question? Any volunteers? Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Rich Bryan, 1825 Cardinal, and there's only two of us in the room, one sitting in the chair in the back, our current mayor and myself, that have had the opportunity to serve on the commission with all three of you. So I commend you for taking the next step and being willing to move on to the next level. The biggest question, and something that all of us have discussed together, is that as the role of commissioner, we have to make decisions that are not always popular. And oftentimes, you know, we love to say that everything we do is 100% unanimous and everybody loves us, but sometimes we have to do things that are for the betterment of the community, but aren't necessarily something that makes us popular. And as you guys make the next step up, I'm sure Gary would state the pressure of mayor is gonna be even more so than what it has been as a commissioner. So I'm interested to know how each of you guys think you'll deal with the idea of doing what's best for the community and how you'll handle the fact that you're gonna make some people mad once in a while.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Well, I guess being as I've been on here longer, I'll let you guys think about it for a little bit. Rich, there's a lot of times where we have to make decisions we don't like. They're not popular. They're not easy, that's for sure. So, I guess as mayor, I've had that pressure from this side, I've had that pressure from this side, and together, we have to come together and work that out. That's where I don't like to overstep your departments. I don't like to overstep Brian and Drew's departments. But we all have to know what's going on. We have to work together to do that. And so, as mayor, you have to sit down with your department heads, with your fellow commissioners, and take their advice. And we have to work together. And it's not gonna be unanimous. Not every vote we've had has been unanimous. And that's okay. That's fine. You need different perspectives. You need different ideas to make that educated and that final decision. You need to do that. And yes, the pressure does step up. But you have to be willing to step up too, even if it hurts. Because sometimes the biggest win is a loss. And in the end, that makes you stronger. In the end, it makes you stronger. And how you come out of that builds your character. Yeah, it's not always easy. It's always fun, but it's not always easy. Okay, thank you.
Okay, who would like to be next?
Thanks, Drew. Well, Rich, thank you for the question. As a sitting, as a commissioner, current commissioner, you know that how the commission has to function. The mayor, yes, they are the leader, if you would, or the highest profile position on the commission, but they are not the unanimous decision maker of issues that are coming before the city. How I try to handle contention is try to be honest with people. I consider both sides of the equation to try to come to some middle ground if we can. Some decisions that are made, you just can't come to a middle ground. But the things that really affect the community are made at this table. It's not made by the center position, because we all have equal voting power. And I rely on the staff to do their due diligence on topics and items. I also rely on my fellow commissioners to keep the community moving forward. And that's how I want to represent as a mayor, being a leader and not a manager. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Rich, for the question. Great question. And as being an elected official, usually we give away all the credit when things go good, but we take all the blame when things go bad. And that's just that's what we got into this arena for and why we do it. But we do it for the people. And there are times where decisions will be made that everybody doesn't agree, but we do it for the betterment of our community. In my position, as being a vice president of member services, there's been decisions that you have to make that aren't good for, or some people might not agree with, but those are things that you just have to be done. As well as being on the commission and working with the fellow commissioners. The big thing is transparency, open communication, and we need to make sure that you treat people as you want to be treated. And if you just give some common courtesy, things will go a long way. And so, in being a leader, you have to be able to lead, but obviously lean on those people that, and don't reinvent the wheel if things have already been done, so.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question?
Kind of a two-part for the sitting
Your name
commissioners.
for everybody?
Oh, my name is Benjamin Chase. I'm the goofball that writes about all this stuff. Kind of a two-part for the sitting commissioners, and then Mark can answer the second part. If you are elected as a sitting commissioner, you have to appoint someone to take your position on the commission. Not expecting you to give names by any means, but is that something you have taken time and looked through and considered who you would, and vetted in your own way, who you would like to appoint to your position? And then for all three of you, there's going to be commissioners sitting around this table who you are actively running against in this campaign. How do you create a positive work environment from day one, once elected?
I'll go ahead and start, Mike. Thank you, Ben, for the question. That is a very good question. And so from the minute I began my campaign, that was one of the first things I thought about is if I was elected, who would fill this seat here? Obviously, it's not my decision alone. It needs to be the full commission's decision. I've thought about the qualities. We need somebody who knows how to manage a budget, who knows about city government and how it operates, as well as who's passionate about our community. It can't just be some individual that, oh, so-and-so said they would be willing to do it. You have to find somebody who's motivated and invested in this position and who's gonna give 110%, because this is not an 8 to 5 job. This is not a one night a week for a half hour. This is 24/7. It's when you're out eating with your family. It's when you're out in the community. You have to be willing to serve the people, and you're a public servant 24/7. And so I look forward to working with the commission to making sure we find somebody to fill this position that is willing to give 110%. And again, we have great working relationships. I work with Brian currently. We will still work together after April 9th. It's a very friendly, competitive race. We all get along, and there will be no issues moving forward after April 9th. So. Thank you.
Brian, I'm gonna ask you to go next, since the first part of the first question does not apply to Mark, so if you would respond first.
Thank you. Just to be clear, Drew and I do not work in the same building. So there is a little bit of distance in the work atmosphere. But, like Drew said, the decision to fill my seat would be up to the commission as based on commission vote. I do have some qualified applicants that have approached me and said, hey, if that's how it works out, I'd like to be considered for that position. And that, I guess that kind of sums it up as far as how that would be filled. As far as continuing to work with each other, assuming I win, like Drew said, we work closely together during the day as well as in the off-season with working as a commissioner. If Mark is successful, I guess we'll continue back to where we were maybe a year ago, but and if Drew is successful, I anticipate we'll have a good working relationship going forward. So.
Thank you. Well, after hearing their opening remarks, when I win on April 9th, I would be happy to keep Drew and Brian. I'm done. No. No, that's one thing we've done ever since I've been on the commission. We use our strengths of our commissioners. Every one of you out there could be sitting up here, okay? Maybe you're just more nervous than I am, I doubt it, but every one of you, a lot of you could be sitting up here trying to get this job, okay? But being on the commission for as long as I was and working under 3 different mayors, when we divided up the departments for liaison, for you do this, you do this, you do this. And I don't know, I didn't talk with Gary about that, but I think he only kept going the momentum that David and Paul had going. You use your strengths. I've been a department liaison to every department except the finance department. And while I say that, I'm not scared of finances. I know how to spend money. I know how much money I can't spend because I don't have it. But what I'm saying is, we used our strengths. When I first started, I sat right here, 15 years ago, and I had a banker sitting right here, Dale Schneider. And he was a school superintendent, and he ran the school. He was a finance officer, superintendent, that's back in the day when he was everything, okay? After Dale left, I've always had someone in the finance, Brian, Drew. Why would I take that strength away from them? Why not let them help me, and I can help them with the manual labor, the other stuff, and all that. We have to work together, and that's our strengths. So I'm not gonna look for a new commissioner unless one of them wants to step down, then all of you better be ready. So, but working together, that's how, yes, that spot is number 1, but it's only 1 of 5, so.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the audience? Come on forward, sir. State your name.
I told myself I wasn't gonna do this, but still. My name's Larry Williams, live on 8th and Dakota. I know where you're at, having served 12 years as an elected official, 2 of those as a deputy mayor myself. I hear some catchphrases that I know from my experience and have used myself. One is we do what's good for the city. The other is transparency and inclusiveness. At the polar opposites of the spectrum, I've got some examples. One was, I was the lone holdout when the city that I was at decided to implement fluoridation, and the vote was 6-1. I was the holdout. I felt that that needed to go to the people as a vote because it was an optional in the state. It wasn't state mandated. So, yeah, there are times when you just have to buck the crowd. As it turned out, they eventually did have a vote about that, and it was turned down. But that was a number of years after it was implemented. The other is coming from a state where how do I say this? Drag queen story hour is prevalent. The state has implemented a bunch of, I would say, questionable laws about child protective services that have really gone awry. I'd like to hear from each of you if you could think of some polarity situation, and I know these are nonpartisan positions, but I would like to hear where you would come down on a position that you would see as probably most divisive for the community, you as leader.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
That's okay. Thank you, Larry, for bringing that question. That was, that's a great, not question, that's a great statement to make. And Larry and his wife moved here from out of state, and I visited with them a while back, and they explained why they moved here and what some of the things led up to them coming here. As far as being the Lone Ranger, I don't know how you said it, but I'm saying the Lone Ranger, it's not probably the most important thing in our city, but I was on that 5-1 vote, or 4-1 vote when it came to our dispensaries in town. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against medical marijuana. I'm not against medical marijuana at all. Who am I to tell you what medicine you're taking? I have no right to do that. I have no knowledge to do that. I have no right to do that. But what gives me the right to vote on that? I have no medical experience. I would bet the biggest majority out here have no medical experience. Why are we voting on that? That's a medicine. Okay, anyway, I was the Lone Ranger on that. That's a big stance that I'm taking. I'm not saying our city as a whole, because it never came out to a vote for our city. It came out for our state, whatever. But so I don't know how that would come out. But also another one on Sunday sales of liquor. If you've ever had a friend or a family member get killed in an accident, a traffic accident, because of substance abuse or whatever, how could you not have a conscience and vote against that? Not against the businesses, not against the owners, not against the money that the city takes in, none of that. How can you do that and not, I don't know, how can you do that and not vote your conscience, not your pocketbook?
Thank you. Who would like to respond?
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And so just kind of following off what Mr. Robish had stated here pertaining to the medical marijuana, the voters of South Dakota voted. Our job was to put it in place. So they had already made that decision up. And so the job of the commission was to, where is it gonna go? How are we gonna put proper zoning and ordinances in place? The people had already voted for it, and I will respect the vote of the people. If the people are think that is something that needs to happen in our state, and they voted in as a constitutional amendment, I'm gonna support that because that's the support of the people who the majority of the state wanted, and that's how our democracy works. And so I can't think of any other kind of divisive subject happening. You know, I know there's a lot of talk about the trees leaving. That's DOT, not this seat, but other than that, I don't really have anything further to add to that.
Go ahead, Brian.
One of the biggest experiences that I had in division in our community, as well as the state and as well as the nation, was through COVID. And that was still is a very difficult decision that had to be made at this table as to whether to require people to wear masks in the public, whether it was providing precautionary measures within our own community, trying to slow the curve, as they say. And in the moment, we were working with information that was to the best of our abilities to work with. And even today, it's still a divisive conversation. And we had to make measures we had to follow through with protocol measures trying to protect the community as a whole. And in doing so, did we make everybody happy? No, absolutely not. But we had to make that decision. And it was a very difficult decision of how to manage through COVID and to set the precautions in place to get through that. And but through that challenge, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about leadership. So I'm trying to draw from some of the strengths that came out of that situation. So that's my career, I guess, as a commissioner, one of the biggest challenges.
Thank you. Thanks for your excellent questions. I had a list of about 14 of them here and didn't get to any of them. Very, very good. We are going to close this because we have another forum to do. We're going to give each of the candidates an opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement. Then we'll take 5 minutes for a break and reset with our school board forum. So we are going to begin with Drew Weinreich. Drew.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to an end to this forum today, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for the opportunity to stand before you today. Throughout my campaign, I have shared my passion for our community, my dedication to making a positive impact, and my unwavering commitment to the citizens of Huron. I believe that true leadership is not about empty promises or speeches, it's about action. Action is what I will bring to the office of mayor. I have seen firsthand the incredible potential of our city, and I'm ready to roll my sleeves up and work tirelessly to turn that potential into a reality. From cleaning up to revitalizing our downtown and local economy, I have a comprehensive plan to address the issues that matter most to you. But I can't do it alone. I need your support, your ideas, and your voices to guide me in this journey. Together we can continue to build a city that we can all be proud to call home, a city where our families can grow and thrive, where businesses can flourish, and where residents feel valued and heard. I'm not just a candidate, I am your neighbor, your friend, and your advocate. So as the election approaches on April 9th at the Huron Arena, I would appreciate your vote, and let's continue to make Huron a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Robish.
Well, Drew and Brian, I guess it's been a fun 2 months. And I've enjoyed it, and I've always wanted to do this. Since I got on the commission, I wanted to do this. I wanted to be mayor first, and I had some very good advice from a commissioner then. Don't start there. Get to know what the city is like. So I did, and luckily, thankfully, I made it here, and I stayed here for a while. So, it's been a year for me since I've been off the commission, and I wanted to step back and take a look at that. Because I've had a lot of support from a lot of different people I don't know, and a lot of them that I do know very well, but I've had so much support. I've always wanted to do it, but I didn't know if I should throw myself out there. And you know what? I've prayed about this for a year. And if God was here with me right now today, sitting beside me, he could say, all right, Mark, you're the next mayor, or what are you thinking about? I mean, that'd be the easy way out. That'd be the easy way out. We can't take the easy way out, because we have to look for signs, we have to look for support, and that's the signs, that's the support that I've gotten from some of the people that I would have never even got to know or meet, but through this, and it's, I'm ready to do this, I'm gonna show up for work. My work ethic will never have to be questioned. And so, I'm gonna embrace this, and I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna win on April 9th, and I'm gonna have Brian and Drew in my corner. But I would very much appreciate your vote on April 9th and your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Smith?
I'm not gonna do it. I wanna do it, I'm not gonna do it. But thanks, everybody, for showing up and coming today. Obviously, it's kind of an unprecedented event that we're going through as having 3 candidates for mayor. And it's, as Mark said, it's been fun. It's been a little nerve-wracking throughout the process, but with April 9th coming upon us, I'm asking for your vote to continue to be serving the community. I'm asking for your vote for me. My time is now to be your mayor. I've served on the commission for 10 years, so I know the commission side of it. I've also been, like I mentioned in my introduction, that I've been part of key management in the 2nd largest credit union in South Dakota. And I've been through the growth of all those things, which has honed my management and leadership skills through those experiences. I love Huron, obviously, been here for 50-some years, so I think that goes without saying. I think all 3 of us obviously make Huron our home, and I just want to have the opportunity to continue to make it a community that will attract people and make it their home. And those are some of my, I'm not going to give you a lot of political promises of what I will and won't do, because I don't have a control over a lot of that. I do have control of creating the vision to attain those goals. So, thank you.
We will run this forum about the same amount of time and operate it in the same fashion that we did the last forum. I want to introduce you to the three people that have joined me here at the podium as candidates: Tim Van Berkom, Brittany Layer, and Ray Cardona. We have drawn for opening statements and we'll reverse that for the closing. And we will begin this morning with opening remarks from Ray Cardona. Ray?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I've been in the district since December of 2006. I've worked at Dakota Provisions as the refrigeration manager. I've been there for 16 years. I've been married for going on 24 years. I have 5 children, 3 are adults now, and attended Huron High School and went to the district elementary school. But now I've gone off to college, graduated, and returned back to Huron to start their adult life. My experience with my job, I manage 26 individuals, operate various pieces of equipment. I do everything from training to procedure writing to maintenance. I've got experience within those 16 years with compliance with government agencies. I'm just very hopeful and for the future of Huron. I'm now a grandfather. I have 2 grandchildren, so I've got future tigers hopefully. Got one guy threatening wolves, so we gotta work on him. So just very vested in the community, wanting to improve on an already great system and administration within the school district. I know there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that a lot of us don't know about. There's a lot of things that the community takes offense to and would like to make changes, but really don't know how. So I'm looking forward to being that conservative voice to be able to think outside the box. All of this is very new to me. And that's it.
Thank you. Second, we will hear from Tim Van Berkom. Tim?
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everyone. A lot of you in here already know me, but for those of you that don't, I'll take a bit to reintroduce myself. Tim Van Berkom. I grew up in Mitchell, so in the spirit of full disclosure and transparency, I am a product of the Mitchell school system. When I graduated from high school, I joined the Navy for 6 years, eventually serving in Reactor Controls Division on board the fast attack submarine USS Kavala, SSN 684. When I got out of the Navy in 1990, I took a job as an electronics tech at D&E Music in Mitchell. I knew I wanted to come back to South Dakota. I lived all over, Hawaii, all over the US, and knew I wanted to come back here. I was working at D&E for 3 years. My bosses at the time also owned Manfred Music and Vending in Huron, so they offered me an opportunity in the fall of 1993 and more money to come work up here. And today I am the general manager of Manfred Music. I run the company. 3 years ago, Manfred is a member of the South Dakota Pool and Dart Tournament Corporation. And 3 years ago, my fellow operators elected me as the president of the Pool and Dart Corps. And they continue to re-elect me president annually, so either they approve of what I'm doing or nobody else wants the job. I've been married to my wife Susie for 25 years. She is the admin assistant to the special ed director over at the McKinley Learning Center. I've served on the school board since 2009. When I first ran for school board, I was serving as the treasurer of the Madison PTO and wanted to have more of an impact on my own children's education. My 2 daughters received a wonderful education in Huron, and they're both very productive young women. Our daughter Sarah is a family services specialist with Child Protection Services here in Huron, and our daughter Tori is a nurse at the HRMC Physicians Clinic. In my time on the board, I've served 3 years as vice president, 5 years as board president, and all but 1 year I've served as the Legislative Action Network rep for our school district, which is kind of a liaison with our legislative delegation. And I've had the privilege of working with many legislators over the years, and tells me I'm getting about done with time, so I will pass on to the next one.
Thank you, and Brittany Lair.
Thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to be here, to everybody that put this forum on, and to those who have served to make this possible today. I'll never forget my first time I walked down the statues out here. I think it's a beautiful remembrance to those who have served and dedicated their lives to this city and this country. I made a mistake of walking it when I was pregnant with my kiddos, because I wanted them to know the sacrifices that have been made for them to be here and to have the life they live. And embarrassingly, one of my husband's coworkers got to witness that emotional wave of the blessing of being a mother. Not too terribly embarrassed, as we all know that comes with the job, but I am looking forward for the opportunity for all of you to have a voice in the community for your school, for your district, whether it be you, yourself, your family members that are going through any of these challenges. I know that my life experiences have given me the tools needed to advocate for you, and I'm here to listen to what you have to say, areas of opportunity. I do have ideas of my own that I would like to work on. My recent experiences with the school district, left my 4th grade son disappointed, to say the least, and I decided to be, the difference rather than the complaint. So thank you for everybody's time today, and I know it's a less than desirable weekend to be here.
Thank you. We will take questions from the audience now. You can direct your question to one of the candidates, or you can ask it in general. If you ask it in general, we will let them decide who will respond in what order. Who would like to ask the first question this morning? Yes, sir. Come forward, please, and state your name.
Morning, Brian Hines. My question is, do you think the Huron School Board and school district should have, it's gonna be a 2-part question, I hope you answer both of them, but do you think the Huron School District and school board should be compelled to follow state law? And if so, what would you do as a school board member to ensure that the school board follows SDCL 13-7-14 and 12-19-1.2, which deals with absentee voting, which I believe they haven't been following for however long. And what 12-19-1.2 says is absentee voting shall begin neither later nor earlier than 46 days prior to the election, including any voter identification stuff covered under the Uniform and Overseas Citizen Absentee. So what would you do as a school board member to ensure that we follow that law?
Thank you. Who would like to respond first?
Yes, I will. Thank you for the question, Brian. I guess my first instinct would be to consult with Mr. Freeman, our school attorney, which is what we do in cases where we're concerned about what the law says, what the law means, if we're in compliance. That's the one thing I've noticed over the years about laws. It seems like you can have an attorney on this side saying one thing, you have another attorney on the other side saying the exact opposite. Well, which one's right? Well, ultimately it comes up to a judge to decide which of the attorneys is in the right. So I would rely on the advice of our school's legal counsel in such matters, and I tend to follow his advice.
Thank you.
Yep, so my experience with compliance when it comes to laws and regulation First off is to find out what the standard is requiring, and then how can we meet compliance? And if we're gonna waver from what's being required, then we need to decide what are we willing to defend? You know, is our way better, or exceeds what they're requiring us to do? But the short answer is if we're required by law to do something just to avoid the headache, comply. Try to meet that obligation as much as possible, and then, again, if we feel that strongly against what they're requiring of us, then we need to start that conversation on, what's the middle ground, what other options do we have, and, just move forward that way.
From what I could hear, that there was a known issue, and I feel that the first start is to bring it up to those that are capable and have the resources to make the change or difference that's needed to comply.
Thank you. We are ready for another question. Yes, ma'am. Please identify yourself.
Peggy Besh, I would be interested in knowing what you see the top 3 challenges currently for our school district. Thank you.
Great question. Who would like to start?
We'll let Tim go last because he already knows. So, just from just a outside of the school board standpoint, growth, classroom, construction, building, growing the school to keep up with the influx of students. From talking to parents, I think behavioral issues and truancy is an issue. There's a lot of kids in my circle that I know through the years that have not completed high school, and that's very concerning. Kudos to the families that are able to help their child see graduation and complete their education, but there's so many that are just falling between the cracks. So I would like to see what we can do as far as alternative schooling methods, or just try to meet the kids where they're at and see why they're not finishing. I think that is just detrimental to the community, detrimental to their lives, because that's going to seriously impact their earning capability. And then school board wise, I think transparency is a big thing. I think a lot of parents, even myself, have walked away wondering what happened. What did I miss? How come I didn't feel like I was heard or any actions were taken with my recommendations? But just like anybody else in a managerial position or a committee position, there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and there's the stuff that we know, the stuff we know we don't know, but then there's what we don't know that we don't know. So you've got to deal with all of that, and again, people are going to walk away unhappy.
I'll go next. There we go. All right. So again, thank you, Ray. Valid, very valid. The top 3, I would say, is the teacher retention concern in our district. I have ideas that would incentivize those currently with experience or coming into our district with experience, not just those with an education. I feel like that's an effective way to bring people in and to give them the motivation to continue working to educate our children. The second one is transparency and communication, which we know there's a desperate need for right now. I feel like a way that can be done is by getting new experiences, new involvement from the community by bringing in new members. Change is what, creates change. So I definitely feel like there's, with each of us, a different level of involvement in the community in different areas, and I hope to see that, those that haven't had a chance to voice their concerns and make the changes get a chance to do that. That would really benefit the school. The third thing is the continued improvement of our schools and education, and I feel we are doing that with the CTE programs, and I look for more areas of improvement there, but not to lose sight of the 4-year educations that there are still students that would like to have.
Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. Number one, like a couple of them have said, recruitment and retention of staff continues to be a challenge. Like Brian Smith said earlier, his wife retired, but she was willing to come back part-time and help our high school music program because we couldn't get any applicants last year. And that tends to happen a lot nowadays, especially among special education. Those can be tough positions to fill. We were fortunate enough that we do have a high school music teacher for next year hired, so that's a positive, but that continues to be a problem. The Huron School District, we keep throwing all the money we get from the state into teacher salaries and benefits and try and take care of it that way. We also offer 5-year retention bonuses to try and keep people here. We want people to come here and want to work here and want to stay here and find this as a good place to work. Number two, been touched on, is this potential CTE expansion. In the changing society, there's a huge need for these technical jobs, and if we can help these students get a head start on some of these tech classes, there's definitely needs for electricians, plumbers, journeymen, those type of positions going forward. I see Senator Wheeler sitting back there, and we want to be able to tap into some of that CTE money that he generously donated last year. The other issue continues to be school finances. The school district budget goes July 1 to June 31. That process begins in May, and we rely on enrollment projections, what we think our enrollment will be on count day, the last Friday in September. Well, we don't know until the last Friday in September, but we have to have our budget passed in June. For example, this year we didn't hit our projections, so we had to, well, it was a pretty much administrative come to Jesus meeting to figure out where we're gonna make some cuts and save money, and now I'm out of time.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the audience? Yes, sir.
David Wheeler from Huron. It's nice to be on this side of this podium. But first, it wasn't my money. State taxpayer dollars. CTE expansion. But I want to ask, Tim hit on a little bit, but I want to have everybody talk about your theory, your philosophy on teacher pay, and how it affects tax dollars. Because obviously we hear about it a lot in the legislature. I want to see how you guys think that translates onto your level and the effect that that has on recruitment and retention.
Tim, I think he asked you to start. So go ahead.
I can start with that. Thank you for the question, David. Yeah, that continues to be a challenge. Even more so, there was a bill that passed out of the Senate to try and make sure that school districts are hitting these target teacher salaries, and future increases need to be rolled into teacher salaries. They're making the accounting more strict. And those monies have to go into your salaries and benefits. I'll use an example. If a teacher retires, it's at a higher salary, you hire somebody newer at a lower salary, now you've got a difference in salaries that you're not paying somebody. Well, that, under the new law, those monies need to be rolled into the salaries and benefits going forward, because we have to hit between 97% and 100% of that target teacher salary going forward. So we have I think the most brilliant business manager in the state, Mr. Christofferson, and he is on top of this, and I think we've got a solid plan going forward. We were able to offer our teachers salary increases this year in excess of 4%, where the state gave us 4%, but with these new formulas, we're able to go a little higher than that.
Thank you. Who would also like to respond over here?
Yeah, I think it's very critical to make sure the teachers get the support, additional training and incentives for retention purposes and just personal growth. That way they can pass that growth on to our children. I have kept up with some of the school boards, and that's kind of a moving target when it comes to people coming and going and change of benefits. So it's definitely a complex issue. I do feel that the board's got a pretty solid plan on what they're doing now. The again, we focus a lot on the teachers, but I also think we need to put some light on the support staff, making sure that they're getting a piece of the pie, because without the support staff behind the scenes, making things happen, the teachers are not going to be able to do what they need to do. And that goes from, cleaning the restrooms, the teachers' aides, the maintenance guys, keeping the property in good working order. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, I just commend anybody that is a teacher, and I feel they are all grossly underpaid. I would look for creative ways with some changeover as is needed in our future. The creative ways I'd be looking to is how we can instill some compensation for those with experience in teaching, as well as we have the compensation there for those who come to us with a degree, but those that have been doing it and living it have shown their results in our schools that we've heard testimony to in this room and seen within our own families. I just don't see how we can't look to that, and part of that has to do with giving them opportunities. In order for teachers to want to be teachers, they need to be able to have an opportunity to grow, and I feel like that should be done within this community and looked into this community for those positions in administration.
Thank you. Who would like to ask the next question?
My turn.
Another one that's happy to be on the other side of the podium.
You got that straight for me. Brian Smith, Huron. And I want to commend all the candidates for running for school board, as well as the current standing school board, as well as the administration and all of the staff at Huron High School, Huron School District. When I decided to run for commissioner I also was considering running for school board, and I think I made the right decision. You folks are really in a tough spot because you have so many influences, parents to children to state requirements to federal requirements and so on, that you have to try to follow and abide by. What do you anticipate is going to be your biggest challenge on the school board in that regard? That makes sense, my question? Thank you.
Okay. Who would like to start?
I feel like a couple of the biggest challenges as a school board is balancing, our abilities with our budget, with the needs. And we might have the ability, we might not have the budget. We might know there's a need, we might not have the budget. So the balance of trying to be creative, plan ahead. I don't feel there's a better way to invest our community's funds than in our youth. We know that that's what builds this community strong. If we can't any example you look at in other communities, the investment in the school and the educational programs reaps the benefits throughout the fostering community, showing opportunities for businesses and bringing those to our community. Desired school and education brings those to Huron. I come from a community that did that well, and I feel like I have lived and experienced those decisions made well, and I definitely feel confident that I can bring up ideas that not everybody else has experience in life. And I've already invoked, some change in conversation and behavior, and I'd like a chance to continue to do that because it's our life experiences, it's asking questions. That's part of learning and education. So if we don't have somebody advocating for our kids, such as parents, I don't know who else would. So if not me, then who?
Go ahead, Ray.
Well, for me, I guess the answer is going to be two-part. I think the first part would be personal. you know, I'm not even on the school board, but just as soon as people found out I was running, everybody's coming out of the woodworks, asking me to do this and asking me to do that. I think balance is a great word, you know, because, you know, we've got, you know, what we want and then the reality of the situation, and trying to, you know, keep everybody pacified will be difficult. And then from the school board standpoint, I would say, you know, just employee retention and recruitment, I think that's just one of the major hurdles that not only the school district has, but just several companies within Huron struggle with, you know, competent help, you know, because sometimes the help we get isn't help, you know, and that's a sad fact. But yeah, definitely trying to develop the retention, maybe developing some kind of gateway program for existing staff that maybe they're just support staff. Maybe we can help fund some education opportunities at the community campus. Again, just we got to think outside the box, and I do think we need fresh thoughts brought into the situation.
Thank you for the question, Brian. You're right about all the different laws that a school district has to follow between state, federal laws, and those laws are always changing. It seems like every year there's something new that gets sprung on us. Give you an example from a couple years ago. We're required to provide special services to young preschool children. Well, part of their IEP may say they need to be around general education students. We said, well, we don't have gen ed students, and we said, you better get some. So we began the early childhood program over at the McKinley building when the school district moved back in there. And that has really grown. It's something that we were required by law to basically start doing. It's become an example to other districts that are in the same boat that we were 2 years ago, and they're having to begin program for early childhood. School funding and finances, always a challenge there to keep on top of that. And like I said earlier, recruitment, retention, but just trying to keep our budget in balance, our capital outlay budget in balance, planning for future capital projects when we can afford them. The CTE expansion we're looking at, that process began last Monday with the hiring of Pitts as the risk assessment manager. Next step in that will be getting plans drawn up and bids in place, and fingers crossed that we can finance the project with capital outlay certificates, and if that would cause no increase in anyone's local taxes. And I'm just about out of time, so give it back to you, Mike.
Another question from the audience? Our distinguished mayor.
On the other side of the fence. Ray brought it up, the fact, talked about our master's degrees that we were getting through community council, yeah, community at campus. And I was just wondering at the time, people have told me that we have the most master's degrees of any high school in the state because of the program that's come through community campus. And I want to know if you're still following and want to back that, because I know once they receive it, they get a boost in their wages. And I want to know if that's accurate.
Thank you, Gary. Yes, that is accurate. We do give extra pay to people that get those advanced degrees, try and encourage our staff to continue their education and be the best they can. And we do have a lot of people with masters and plus 15 degrees in our district there. So yes, that's another part of the trying to get people to want to come here and want to stay here and work, to encourage them to get those degrees, and yeah, they get a boost in pay for that.
As I mentioned, there is a great program in place for those that come with an education. I would like to see changes in decisions being made in our community. I feel like we have had a current principal, and we hired from without the community. I feel an overqualified member from out the community. Why we weren't looking internally for this, is something that I just don't quite understand. I also find it extremely convenient that we also hired that person's spouse. These are positions that we had qualified community members within our community. I feel like there was an area to be looked at. How does that affect those in the community that were planning or applying for those positions? Or, you know, what message does that send to those who would want to apply in the future for administration or invest in their own education to advance their careers? I feel like there needs to be a better consideration in the future for that.
Training's huge. I'm always grateful for the opportunity and the training opportunities that I get, you know, at my employer. But again, just a gateway to help teachers get that higher education if possible. I know it gets very difficult once you're an adult and you've got bills rolling in to find the extra time and the funds to pay for that. So if we can, as a district, find a way to incentivize and support staff to get that education. But yeah, I think it just pays dividends, you know, whatever they learn is just gonna help grow our children and make them that much better for their educational future.
Thank you. We would have time for one last question from the audience. Yes, sir, please come forward.
Larry Williams, Huron. I've heard a lot about budgets and focusing on money. The phrase, "the poor will always be with us," comes to mind. So I would like to hear something more about your philosophy and leadership. I come from a state, I'm a refugee from another state where I know what they define diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. I would like to hear what you define that as and what your philosophy is in terms of school board or school district.
Thank you. Who would like to start?
I can start that one. Diversity is something in this district and in this community that I value. I feel like it brings an immense amount of ideas and gives our children in the district real life experiences that, you know, in South Dakota there are some districts that don't even get to experience those cultures. And incorporating that's important to me. I feel like recently I've had my own firsthand experience with the system and the schools, not focusing on the heart that I was trying to bring out with my initial request to pull down the dividers in the school. I heard from my kids that it was something they disliked. They couldn't communicate with their students. There's very few times in our children's day where they get to talk to those outside of their classroom, outside of their desk, or who they, you know, compete with at recess. I have 3 boys. I have 2 younger girls too, but as far as, you know, recess goes, I feel like it's activities. And lunchroom is where we get the communication enrichment and the development socially and emotionally that I think gives them something that they can't get. I mean, without that communication, what's different, too much different than to say that they could be taught at home? One of the most beneficial things for children in a public school is their ability to advance their social skills. These are things critical in life for every single field. I don't care what you want to do. If you can't socialize, if you can't talk to people, if you can't understand or empathize with somebody, how can you do that with something dividing next to you, in front of you, and beside you? I mean, these kids were forced to turn around in their seats to get the enrichment they needed. If that doesn't tell you there's an issue with what's going on, and to just point that out, I got met with ridiculous scenarios that, you know, were tried to be justified by, you know, behaviors. It's like, well, I mean, if kids decide to do something, they're going to decide to do it. And who's to say they couldn't come up behind a kid to do it? I'd rather see somebody trying to dump milk on my tray in front of me than behind me, but that's just me. And I really just tried to focus on the social development side of things, because as we left COVID, these were things we absolutely knew were critical to our kids' development. Sorry.
Who would like to be next? ahead,
I can go
Jim.
next. I hope I understand the question correctly. Huron is a very diverse district, whether it's racial, socioeconomic differences. One thing I'm really proud of that we did 10 years ago was when we reconfigured our elementary schools from neighborhood schools to grade level buildings. When they were still neighborhood schools, it was almost impossible to equalize class sizes. The different buildings had different reputations that were not deserved. Once we were able to get all these children into one building to begin with, we can equalize the class sizes. These children are mixed together from kindergarten going forward. They learn from each other at a young age. Little kids like that, they just see another kid. They don't see a poor kid, a brown kid, a white kid, or anything like that. They just see another kid. And so that's helped to make it more inclusive going forward. And 10 years later, I think we're still on the right track. There's a lot of other districts in the state that have seen what we did and have made attempts to do it. And I don't know if many have been successful yet, but I'm really proud of what we've done to try and include all children, keep them together, keep them learning from each other. And I think I'm getting close to out of time. So.
Ray?
Well, all those words are buzzwords, and I don't like them. I believe in equal opportunity. I think that you set out a plan or a program and opportunities for people to equally access them, and what they do with it is their choice. You know, since I've been in Huron since 2006, I'm utterly amazed by the range of people that I know. You know, the guy that works at McDonald's, or just bankers, lawyers, and just the people that I'm able to socialize with. And and I'm not a degreed or highly intelligent philosophical thinker, but yet I can have relationships with the vast majority of these people, and I think that's just what Huron is. Regarding the school district, back to the kids dropping out, the question that keeps coming to mind is, what aren't you getting? Where are we not meeting you? We're not going to lower the standards for you to pass, but if you need some help, we'll help you get there. And I think that's kind of been the philosophy with Huron, and several social rings, whether it's sports, just whatever. I have never been in a community where people were so willing to reach out and help out their fellow man. And hopefully that answers your question. As far as my stance, again, equal opportunity, and I think we have that. So.
Thank you. We have come to our allotted time. We will finish with 2-minute closing statements, and we will begin with Brittany.
I drove third first. Now I get to start this out. Thank you all for coming here today. I love seeing all the friendly faces in the crowd. And plan to see you around more and more as each of my kids gets into the school district. I have 4 kids in the district now. The 5th is soon to follow, like I've mentioned before. I have ideas in place that I think will help Huron continue to succeed. I plan to look to the community for support, educate, and transparency in why we feel we need a better education, why we need to better the funding for the education program in Huron. I know it's going to take time, but I plan to be patient in the process, work with others, and I know that this community comes together for a need and meets those needs, especially for those of the youth. Our country as a whole could do better. But I promise to look at transparency and communication, staff retention, and safety and as a priority in my role here. To do that, I think we need to look at policy. a little bit more critically and hold some more accountability.
Thank you. Jim Van Berkom.
Thank you, everyone. This has been a great turnout, a great discussion. Appreciate you coming out on a Saturday morning. I absolutely still love doing this job. That's why I'm sitting up here asking again for your vote a week from Tuesday. My philosophy has always been that the school board member, there's 3 functions of a school board member. Number 1, to hire, fire, and evaluate the superintendent, to set policy, and to approve expenditures. I've never been one to be involved in micromanaging. There are districts out there that the school board will literally decide which day you're going to wax the floors. I've been a firm believer that you put the best people in the administrative positions, let them do their job without undue interference from me, and great things will happen. Children will receive a great education, and we have a wonderful school district because of it. So once again, asking again for your vote, and I have the historical perspective and the experience to continue being an advocate for the taxpayers of the Huron district. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ray?
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out, and to those that know me, I appreciate your support. My closing statement, or for those who don't know me, I think for people that do know me, whether they like me or not, I think they could probably say dependability and integrity are 2 qualities that I possess. And those 2 things is what I'm going to bring to the school board. I'm going to do my best, again, to find that balance and meet the parents, meet their needs, address their needs, and then be an asset to the school board, bringing fresh ideas, or going along with good ones. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But, so yeah, I appreciate your support, and thank you.
Thank you. Let's show us our appreciation. So as was stated, election is a week from Tuesday. You can vote early at City Hall on any, during any business day between now and then, or make sure you vote